start recording. So I've been always afraid to do all this video kind of thing, just because I was afraid that the technology would take over my brain, basically, that it would require too much work on my part and I couldn't think about anything else. But it's become easy enough so that I think I can handle the content as well as the technology at this point. And Zoom has just been so easy for me to use that I like to be able to do that. So I'm really glad to see all the pictures on the screen. One of the things that I did learn from doing the high flex version I did in the fall was that it really is helpful to me if people actually show their video. And because that way I can tell what you're thinking. I can tell if you understand what I'm saying or don't understand or have questions. And also it's just, you can interact with each other better because they're people. So I'm not going to require video, but I strongly urge you to do it. And if you can't do video, let me know and we'll work out. Of course, some of you already know, I see Jay knows that one of the things people are worried about with video is not wanting to let people see their house. So I went around my study here and I picked up the things that are visible. In the spots that are not visible, then it's a mess, but you don't have to know that. But you can also change to a virtual background, which you can do by looking at your video icon on the bottom left. It says stop video, or start video, depending on what you've got. And if you click on the arrow and click on choose virtual background, let's see. You can actually pick a virtual background to go against. Now, depending on how you can't do it in Chromebooks. That's what Heather just said. Yeah, Chromebooks is a little limited. And I'm not sure you can do it on iPads or tablets as well. So depending on your own Zoom, there may be some backgrounds already there. So that there's some standard ones like on a beach. There are also some background. You can also download any picture that you want and use that as a background. So what I've downloaded here is a picture of the Terminal Tower in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I was from. I maybe still have a Northern accent, I don't know, but I've lived here since 1983. So possibly I've lost my Northern credentials. I went to college in upstate New York. I went to graduate school at the University of Minnesota. And then I finally came down here where it turns out that I really like it where it's warm. And so I've been really happy here. I married somebody from Little Rock. He went to Forest Heights Junior High and Hall High School. And though he did move away for a while, but he came back to Arkansas, works with his brother. My husband and his brother have a construction company called Matson Construction. And it is getting smaller and smaller. Probably will get really small really soon when we all retire. But it is the oldest existing construction company in the state. Was called the George Burden Construction Company. That was his great uncle. They built the Arlington down in Hot Springs. So if you ever looked at at Hot Springs. Anybody from Hot Springs in the class?
I am. I'm in Hot Springs right now.
Oh, great. Well, when you have a chance, go look at the little thing on the front of it. They actually built it twice. They built it the first time in like 1900 something. Then it burned down, and then in 1919, I think, they built it again. And he talks about how fast it was done, and the pictures they have of the building were pretty amazing. Of course, there were no safety precautions done at that time, so they could kind of move ahead. There were very few workers' relationship precautions either. So, as I said, I've been here since 1983. That makes me the oldest, well, the longest serving member of our department. I actually was in the department in the early days when we were actually in the English department. And I'm the only one left who was still in the English department. The English department is a great department, but at one point it really didn't like us. I know there are a couple English majors in the class that, so we really encourage English majors to participate. I personally am a strong believer in the relationship between reading and writing, literature and rhetoric. And in fact, my dissertation was on that. And so I am glad that there's becoming more of a positive relationship. It's up and down. Let's see. I need to apologize about the book. I screwed up. I didn't check what had done. The bookstore manager, who I've known since 1983, I think he's one of the few people on campus who's still around. He offered to just reorder what the previous books were. And I just said, okay, thanks, Byron, bye. And I forgot to look at and see, and what he did is he ordered books from a year or two ago that somebody else had taught with. They're really good books.
They are.
Jay mentioned that he had got them already and had written in them. I think you can still return them, even if you've written in them. So you definitely can return them.
I've kind of grown attached to them now.
Oh, okay. Well, you can, after the class, you can compare. So the book that we are using, which was selected as much because it's, oh, that's the problem with video, with virtual backgrounds. I selected this partly because it's inexpensive and small. I can stick it in my purse. It is an amazing book to me because they incorporate like every concept of rhetoric in it. We'll only use the first 5 chapters, not the second 5 chapters. But it's a very packed book, and it's inexpensive. So that's one of my goals. It is old, which means that there is no electronic version. And I think that's fine. I'm not really a fan of electronic versions. Every time students, especially the ones that are some kind of like Pearson product thing, every time I have students use them of books, they end up finding that they can't find everything in it. I'm also a big fan of writing on books, of using other things to interact with what you're reading, because I think that helps you, because reading otherwise can be very passive, as we all know. So, and we will not use it till February so that people have time to get it. And if you have not gotten it by that point, let me know, and I'll provide PDFs for a little while, not too long. Okay, any questions just on logistics before we get going? Can we start by introducing yourselves? So we know who is in the room and why you're here. Most of you are here because this is a required course in your program. But just tell us where you are in the program and where you are. Some of you, I think, might be ready to graduate. So I know the screen looks different for everybody. You know, they move people around. Yesterday would have been my mother's 90th birthday. She unfortunately died in May. She went into the hospital in March, spent 2 months in the hospital and without being able to see any of us. She had COVID, but that's not what she ended up dying from. Anyway, yesterday was her birthday, would have been her 90th birthday, and we had hoped so much that she could be still around. And so we had a Zoom birthday party, and we had people from Washington State, I had a niece there, to Washington, D.C., to Boston, to Cleveland. All her caregivers were logged in, and then a niece in Virginia, a cousin in North Carolina, my kids in Dallas, and us in Arkansas. And I mean, really, it's amazing what we can do with Zoom. And so we had an hour-long birthday party and even saying happy birthday. Well, it was a little confusing because there are a lot of people on the group that didn't know each other, and the little boxes kept moving around. So it was hard to say, oh, she's the one in the top left. But I'm going to start with Colleen, who I've rarely seen, although I've seen in classes before, because Colleen's in my top left. So Colleen, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us why you're here.
Hey, I'm Colleen, and I'm here because I'm in the rhetoric and writing program. And this is my last year, but except I'll be graduating in December.
Great. Where do you live?
Oh, Mountain Home, Arkansas.
Yeah, so you do everything online.
Mhm.
What do you think of this movement towards synchronous classes?
I didn't know at all that it was going to happen. I didn't even know that my classes were synchronous. I just lucked out, and this one is Monday, Wednesday, and the other one is Tuesday, Thursday. I thought they were all asynchronous when I signed up.
It's definitely forced us, or the technology and the situation, what we'll talk about soon, the Kairos, has definitely triggered some changes in teaching methodologies. And so it's interesting. Anna, you're next on my screen. You want to introduce yourself? Tell us where you are in the program, where you are literally, etc.
So I'm Anna. I'm from Bentonville, so I'm also taking all online classes. This is my second semester in the professional technical writing program.
And we're so glad that you joined us and not the one closer to you. Micah.
Make sure to unmute myself. So this is my last semester in the technical writing program for my bachelor's, and gonna aim for the graduate program after that. I think I'll take like the fall semester off so I can actually enjoy fall and winter for once.
Aren't you afraid about losing your momentum?
No, definitely
No?
not. Everyone needs a break sometimes.
Okay.
But I need that break. I went from the military straight into school, and it's just I'm ready for a break.
Mhm.
So, um,
Sounds
but yeah,
good.
I'm from Gig Harbor, Washington, but I live in Little Rock now. So,
Where are you from?
Gig Harbor, Washington.
The state of Washington?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, but I live in Little Rock now.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Aliyah? I'm not sure
It's
how you
Aaliyah.
pronounce it. Aliyah?
Aaliyah.
Okay.
This is my last semester. I'm about to graduate, and then it's law school for me. Not looking forward to it. And I'm from, thank you. I'm from Melville, Louisiana, and then I transferred over here. So now I live in Little Rock.
Where is Melville, Louisiana?
It's about an hour and a half from New Orleans, Baton Rouge area.
Great. Law schools had never done online teaching before COVID. I mean, the American Bar Association didn't really allow it.
Mhm.
And they, more than any other educational institution, had to make the biggest, hugest change.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what they're doing. Some of you may know, because I know a couple of you are in my legal writing class. Along with a PhD, I got a law degree when here at ULR. I got it during the 90s. And so one of the interests that I do is legal writing. And so as I said, several students are in both classes. I've been doing research on the transition for students from undergraduate writing to law school writing. So trying to look at how to, what are the speed bumps and what are the assistances that work. So great. Jay?
You caught me chewing some celery. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I'm Jay from North Little Rock, and I'm a junior in the professional and technical writing program online. And I'm taking this class because I have a technical background. I was previously an IT major, and this class really just caught my attention, and I thought it would be just sort of a natural and also a really good area to cover in technical writing. And now that you mentioned legal writing, that sounds really interesting too. I think I'd like to do that at some point if I can.
Well, I always teach it in the spring, and I have been alternating between online and face-to-face. So this is an online semester. I assume that next year will be a face-to-face, but I suspect I'll do it as a synchronous face-to-face, online, hybrid, high flex, whatever. So it'll be
Oh yeah,
available.
I'm just taking 2 classes per semester, so
Yeah.
I'll be around for a little while longer, long enough to catch you on down the line somewhere on that legal writing.
Great. Heather?
Yeah.
My name is Heather Stockard, and I live in Mulder, Oklahoma. I'm a professional and technical writing major.
And where is that in Oklahoma?
It's just across the river from Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Oh, okay. Again, you had opportunities of closer Arkansas schools. We are glad you're here. ULR has been doing online courses for a long time. And so we were a little better situated than a lot of places. Not to taunt our own horn, but Hannah?
I am currently a junior in the technical professional writing program.
Where are you located?
Hot Springs.
Oh yeah, that's right. I already knew that. I have a slow memory. Great. And Morgan?
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
I'm a junior in the technical writing program, but I should be graduating next December. And I'm from Bryan, Arkansas.
Is that what, that's where you are, right?
hmm
And Talia?
My name is Talia Cage. I am a junior, a double major in criminal justice and professional technical writing. I am in Little Rock and also legal studies minor.
Oh,
In
so
hopes
are
to
you
be
planning
a
on law
lawyer.
school too?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good. I'm so proud. I have two sons. One is undergraduate. He's a junior. He had no idea what he was going to major in for the longest time. Because he said he was going to major in business, but his school required a 3.5 GPA in your freshman year to be a business major. And he only had a 3.4, and they were like, that was it. And I kept trying to get him to write a letter, arguing to let him in. And the letter would have to say why he wanted to be in business. And he really kept getting irritated with me. He said, I don't know why I want to be in business. I just said it. So I said, well, maybe you just need to find another major. He has found another major, and it is legal studies. And he is thinking about it's legal studies and sports management. And he loves it. It's so exciting. And I worked really hard not to say I told you so, because I had told him so many, many times that I thought law was the area that he ought to be going into. So anyway, okay, so let's start talking about the class. I think I'll share my screen. Has most everybody has logged into the Blackboard shell. Let me refresh the screen. Let me stop and ask a question. I have two screens. I have I work on a laptop, but then I have a large screen that is connected to it, so I don't have to peer at this tiny laptop. But the large screen keeps blacking out. Does it black out on your end?
No.
No? So, okay, that makes sense. Because the camera is not blacking out and the laptop's not blacking out. Well, this is weird. I don't exactly know why it is.
Your large screen has probably got a timeout setting on it that could be adjusted.
Well, it's never done that before. I mean, it just started doing this. I mean, this is a setup I've had for years. So I'm wondering if, it's the screen itself might be starting to die or something. I don't know.
It sounds more like a setting.
Well, I can handle it as long as you guys, it's not interfering with what you're seeing. So you may have noticed that there's a slightly new interface. Oh, that looks different too. There is a new interface in the Blackboard logins. And it doesn't require the net ID anymore. It just requires the ULR email. And then you end up being logged in for forever, I think. I don't really quite know what's going on. This picture on the screen right now actually looks different than it usually does. Or it had looked yesterday. So now it instead of having all those announcements that were there, now there's some kind of time thing. Well, this is interesting. Okay. Oh, I just pressed the activity stream. Oh, that's different. So this is what I have to see. And this is what I normally see. So this institution page gives us all these interesting, helpful tidbits, which is great. This activity stream is different. That's interesting. 14, so I think that's how long since I interacted with it, maybe. I don't know if I want everybody to know exactly what I do. All right. So I'm going to assume since you're all online students, you have no trouble getting there. Let me just quickly go over how I handle classes. I use the announcements quite a lot so that I can send the announcements out to your email. As it says in the syllabus, you have to use ULR email for this course, and I'm sure you understand that now, since Blackboard intersects with it. And now, apparently, since the login intersects with it as well. And I will generally post an announcement after class, after I've processed the recording and got the recording. I'll send out an announcement that I have the recording, probably remind you of what the homework is. And before class, I'll send out an announcement to remind you what the homework is, and also with the link again, at least at the beginning. So the announcements is my sort of ongoing teacher podium. The most important information is under course material. And so under course material, I have a variety of modules. Oh, let me do something. All right, let me change. I'm just changing it back to the student view. So under course material, there's a variety of modules. And those modules, I will sometimes bring them up to the course navigation place as we're working on them. So the syllabus and schedule are important right now, so I'm gonna keep them up there. As I go through the weekly content, there is none so far, I will post that up there as well. And I will have the videos that are recordings in there as well. There's a nice link here to Rhetoric Resources Online. And there are several really good sources here. And I encourage you to wander around and look at them. This is a list of even more sources. The Rhetoric Society of America, all sorts, each one of these has hundreds of links. And this American Rhetoric site, which is a fantastic resource for speeches across the world, but mainly American. So, and they have audio versions if they can, and they have a whole lot of extremely helpful information. A lot of this stuff you can find by searching, Googling, etc. But it's great because it's curated and put all in one place. And they've got, you know, these different kinds of lists that they have. If you like movies, these are legal speeches or rhetoric, great speeches on movies. They also have great legal speeches somewhere. You know, the movies, people are so much better in the movies than they are in reality. And one of the things that we'll have in this class are quizzes. This is a course that is much more content oriented than any other writing course that you've ever had. And so instead of a whole lot of writing, I'll be giving you quizzes on the reading, mainly on the reading and on what we deal with it. We will sometimes have discussions and blogs related to the course, but we won't have it that often because this is essentially a face-to-face class. The main writing assignment that you're going to do in this class is either a persuasive argument or an analysis of somebody else's rhetoric. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a very small piece of that. And then as we learn new concepts, I'm going to ask you to apply those concepts to the thing that you're working on. So the very first assignment for the course is going to be to write a very brief statement of your opinion about something. And that will be the basis of some kind of piece of persuasive rhetoric. And then as we deal with different topics, like the first topic is going to be kairos and genre, first topics. So I'll be asking you to think about, okay, if this is my opinion about X, what is the genre that I would want to put it in? And what are the implications of the kairos, the time, don't worry if you don't know what that is, to this? And how can I revise it and expand it and extend it to meet those things? Well, so it's going to be an in-process kind of thing, sort of practicing ideas on a piece of rhetoric that you're writing. After a few weeks, I'm also going to ask you to think of some piece of rhetoric that you would like to analyze. And then I'll ask you to do the same kind of thing to apply the concepts that you're learning about to this piece of rhetoric. So, what is the kairos of this piece of rhetoric? What is the genre? What are the implications of that? And again, it'll be more like a sandbox practice kind of thing to try to just kind of play around with using these concepts, either in writing your own argument and in analyzing somebody else's argument. And then the actual paper will be, you'll pick one of them and actually finalize it and submit it for a grade. And that's the only writing per se, finished writing assignment that I'm going to be asking you to do this semester. The rest of the writing you'll be doing is practicing type writing or discussion-based writing from the course. So I've done a little explanation about that in the syllabus. I'm calling these your application papers. Oh, I see, I forgot to link the rubrics. I'll make sure they're added. And so that's what the main requirement in terms of writing requirement is, which I know is very different from almost every other writing class because usually you write multiple papers. Let me go back and talk about, oh wait, I meant to do this. So the grading is, so here you have this application paper, and a quarter of the grade is on this application paper, but everything else, 3/4 of the grade is other things. The activities in Blackboard, the quizzes, and the reflective essay final exam. Any questions just about that particular thing? Okay. I am going to have office hours via Zoom. And so I've created a different Zoom classroom for the office hours, but I'm giving the same Zoom classroom for all 3 of the classes that I'm teaching. And I'm really hoping that people will come and talk together about the course and get things clarified. This course and the legal writing course, and actually the working with writers or writing for the workplace for those students, it has things that people need to talk and explain. So I'm really hoping that Zoom will allow us to have real office hours here. I've given you my cell phone. I don't mind you contacting me by cell phone. That really is the only phone I have anymore. And, but just, be respectful. I recommend that you get a handbook like this. This is one I've picked because it's cheap and it's also spiral. So it lands there. And I just saw that they have published a new yellow version that is 2021. And I don't know, I don't think any of the main documentation people made changes since 2018, but maybe they did. I use Google Docs. Has everybody used Google Docs? Has anybody in the class not used Google Docs? Okay, great. I love Google Docs. I can make changes all the time. I use Google Drive as my backup system so that everything is mirrored from my Google Drive up in the web to my hard drive. It's a great thing. And even though I'm not real happy about the fact that I've given Google my life and the fact that Blackboard is now connected to our email, which is Google email, suggests it's even more taking over our lives. Like many writing courses, we're going to focus on the certain outcomes. Every writing course talks about rhetorical knowledge. This is the one that you will learn the actual concepts directly. And you will probably have learned many of these concepts in earlier classes, particularly persuasive writing. But there are many concepts that I suspect you will not have learned before. Anything else I want to say in here? Participation, attendance, and deadlines. I accept late papers. I will deduct, usually not that much, unless the assignment was supposed to be for some kind of interaction with other people. And so be sure that, don't give up if you're late or whatever, and always attend even if you're not necessarily prepared. It's better to attend than not. If you have to be away from the class, let me know. We can work things out. There's not so many people in the class that I can't be flexible. If you're gone for more than 2 weeks, I'll assume you're dropping the class, and I'll start sending you emails about how I'm going to drop you from the class. And I'll start nagging you. Actually, if you're kind of late on things, especially at the beginning of the semester, I will nag you. I found that I can bring out my mother credibility and nag as well as I can. My kids tell me though that now that they met all their friends in college and their friends' parents in college, that my husband and I are much less of naggers than some of these other friends, but I save my nagging for my students. Okay, here's something that I know it seems insane, but not insane, but silly. I feel very, very strongly that you should name files by a certain system. You should develop your own system. I have developed a system, and for papers that you submit to me, that is either on a Word document or a Google document, you must name the file in this way. And start with the last name, then have some kind of short title that tells you what it is, tells you and me, and then something about the version number. Now, with Google Docs, it's a little odd because the version is always continuing. But you can always change the version number, and I think that's a good thing. One of the reasons why I like Google Docs is that you can see the version history and you see all the changes. So I'm going to be encouraging you to do everything from scratch in Google Docs, not to do a Word document and then change it into Google Doc at the last minute. Does Chromebook allow you to do that? Morgan?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What was the question?
Does Chromebook allow you to do version Google Doc? It should, because it's a Google.
I'm not sure. I don't have a Chromebook.
Who was it that said they had a Chromebook? Oh, well. The other picky thing is if you're doing subject discussions is change your discussion subject line. You can do that in Blackboard. In fact, it's easier than to do it in an email discussion. You could just change the subject line so we know who's posting about what. And where's the next page? Seems like I've lost the rest of the syllabus. Seems like I've lost my syllabus. It's disappeared. All right, we'll look at the schedule. So here's where we are. Wednesday, January 21st, introduction of the class. I put this down in case we don't get to it on a little mini lecture I have. For next week, these are links to read. As I said, we're not going to use the textbook. We're going to use these other things out there. And the textbook uses Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail as an example throughout the textbook. So There are, of course, zillions of versions of that. And this is actually a version that has somebody introducing it and then reading it, not Martin Luther King. I'm sure somewhere you can find a voice version of his speech. Amy Devitt does a blog that I think is really helpful. And so this is one of her blog posts. And this is an article about what is good rhetoric. And so that is the assignment for next week in terms of reading. I recommend that you get the reading done for Monday. The assignment for January is to write a preliminary opinion piece in the Blackboard blog. I know that that's what I was talking about earlier. I know that many people don't use blogs in Blackboard. They're very similar to discussions, but slightly different. They're not really like a real blog, but they have the right to have a post and then a commentary, but they're not really discussion oriented like a discussion. And so these evolving persuasive pieces and evolving rhetorical analysis, we're going to use the blog to do that, so that each time you do a new version of this, you can put it in your blog and talk about it. I've been a little picky on this. I want you to compose this in a Google Doc, not a Word doc. And then I want you to be able to, because I want you to be able to see the history. And then basically either share it to the blog or cut and paste it into the blog. And will be Google resources. There are Google resources on the navigation menu to help you. I've set the blog so you can see everybody else's. Well, so I guess because nobody else is, because it's the student view, it looks different. But this little arrow, Joanne Matson preview user, under your name will be on your blog. And when you click on it, you'll be able to see the names of all the other people in the class. And you can look at their blogs as well, and you can actually comment on it. And all you do to make a blog is you create a blog entry and then you type. One of the nice things about it is that it gives you the full editing tools in the blog entry. Okay, so what time is it? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? No. So for Monday, be sure to read the syllabus and the schedule. As you notice, something happened to the syllabus. Let me know if that's permanent or if it's just some weird glitch right this minute.
I couldn't open it through my email either.
You couldn't?
No, I tried it yesterday and this morning and I couldn't see it.
Okay, I will experiment and see what's wrong.
I could open the course schedule, just not the syllabus.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I opened it at first and then it disappeared. Weird. Okay. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about rhetoric, the word rhetoric. So sometimes I think it's kind of crazy that we called our department the Department of Rhetoric and Writing, and we have a required course on theories of rhetoric and writing, because in everyday usage, the term rhetoric is pretty much a negative term. And this last couple weeks, have been a perfect example of how negative it is. So I just thought I Googled the term rhetoric and insurrection, and it looks to me like every single news outlet has somehow done an article with a title that has rhetoric in the title and talking about the violence on January 6th. So this is an article from, I gotta move this. I don't like the way this is blocking my, I need to move that. I'm sorry. This is in the way.
Is there a way you can make it full screen?
Well, that is full screen and it's blocking these little moving of the slide is blocking the bottom of my screen of each slide.
You might be able to like click on it and drag it. I'm not sure, but
no. Tips. Stop it and next. Preview. Go first slide. Last slide. Open speaker notes. Turn on laser. Turn on. Oh. All right. We'll just deal with it. So this is so the reason why I'm a little noisy, the source is listed under here. So this was from ABC News. And see the caption.
Get the weather you want and get it now on the ABC 7 News app.
The deadly siege on Capitol Hill, a stark reminder of President Trump's rhetoric.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
For years, the president has repeatedly denied his words were at the center of divisiveness in our country.
I think my rhetoric is it brings people together.
But since he took office, page after page of police reports underscore his name and his words. Take a look at this video out of Gainesville, Florida from 2016. A Hispanic man working, cleaning outside of a gas station when all of a sudden, a stranger punches him in the back of the head.
This is for Trump.
An ABC News investigation found that when it comes to violent acts, threats, or alleged assaults, President Trump's name appeared in more than 50 criminal cases, and some of the suspects charged were found to be mentally ill, others dangerously devoted to their politics. Cesar Sayoc is a male bomber who pleaded guilty in 2019 to 65 federal charges after targeting some of the president's most vocal critics. Sayoc's lawyer telling the judge, quote, "We believe the president's rhetoric contributed to Mr. Sayoc's actions in this offense." And back in 2018, this man was arrested after threatening to massacre employees of the Boston Globe for their coverage of Trump, calling the journalist, quote, "the enemy of the people."
A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are.
But recently, it was the commander-in-chief's baseless claims of voter fraud that raised concerns, even among election officials.
Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get shot. Someone's going to get killed.
The president may not be directly responsible for the acts of violence conducted by some of these individuals, but his words do provide them the validation.
The president disagrees.
Do you think that you bear any responsibility for moderating your language when it comes to that?
No, I don't. I think my language is very nice.
And the president's false claims of voter fraud continue to be in the headlines. In a late December phone call, President Trump encouraged an election official here in Georgia to, quote, "find the fraud."
This is a good moment to mention. I think this is a really great time to be talking about rhetoric because it's just so pervasive in our culture right now, which means that we're going to be talking a lot about politics. And everybody has different politics, and including me. And I try always to not make the discussions political discussions, but rather discussions about rhetoric. And actually, what I have found is that thinking about rhetoric from an analytical perspective is really helpful in thinking about the politics and the conflicts and differences that people are having. So you're going to see a bunch of videos and headlines here where rhetoric is basically opposed to violence, and it's words versus violence, acts versus deeds, and this is the opposition between that we see all the time in rhetoric. Rhetoric is just words, and in fact you hear it in the little saying, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That opposition between words and actions, or words and actions that are violent, is always existing in the thinking about rhetoric. And even though the popular view tends to look at it in a more negative way, there are also some positive ways. So here's just a headline: incitement, a timeline of Trump's inflammatory rhetoric before the Capitol riot. This is from The Guardian, which is a British newspaper. This is from Foreign Policy, an opinion article, which happens to be a fairly conservative political analysis journal. But here is their headline: carnage comes to the Capitol. Donald Trump decried American carnage in his 2017 inaugural address. His rhetoric made it a reality in 2021. This was from Business Insider, generally a conservative kind of thing, but he said it's time to take Trump's violent rhetoric literally. And there was a lot of people who said earlier that you shouldn't take what Trump says literally, but seriously. You know that a lot of people have resigned, and but Betsy DeVos, who's the education secretary, said, "There's no mistaking the impact your rhetoric had on the situation, and it is the inflection point for me," she wrote. "Impressionable children are watching all this." This is from Bloomberg News. Note the adjectives that are given to the term rhetoric in all these. So here we have the gradual and insidious rhetoric. So this is an opinion piece from the Philadelphia Inquirer, the deadly consequences of Trump's gradual and insidious rhetoric. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. Whoops. Incendiary rhetoric has been a constant with President Trump. So we have this constant adjective here. This is a very common one, incendiary. At impeachment hearing, lawmakers will deliberate over a deadly weapon used in the attack on Capitol Hill, President Trump's words. So the heading doesn't use the word rhetoric, but it uses the word words. But in the article itself, it calls it its violent rhetoric. And then you link on this, and there's a New York Times article about the violent rhetoric. So I think this is the video I started with. Oh, maybe this is it.
President Trump found himself the target of bipartisan blame.
This mob was in good part President Trump's doing, incited by his words, his lies.
I think we already saw that. Even people who support Trump use the term rhetoric in a negative way. So we have an article, this was by just a contributor in the Lewiston Tribune, and the headline was, "Look past Trump's rhetoric to his accomplishments." So you see here, rhetoric is opposed to accomplishments. Again, the language versus what people have actually done. Lest you think that only Trump is accused of some kind of bad rhetoric, I also want to mention that Bill Clinton and Obama also were criticized over and over for their rhetoric. Bill Clinton, I didn't have time to go find some of the sources, but Bill Clinton was constantly being accused as being able to convince anybody of anything, but really being hollow in it. And then Obama was often criticized for having lofty rhetoric. And in fact, Hillary Rodham Clinton accused him of that. This is from 2008, a New York Times article, I think. At a Democratic Party dinner Saturday in Wisconsin, Mr. Obama of Illinois, so this is 2008, during the election campaign, responded to Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton of New York, who has criticized him for delivering smooth speeches, but says they do not amount to solutions to the nation's problems. So again, we have rhetoric versus solutions. And this is what Obama said. "It's true that speeches don't solve all problems," he said. "But what is also true, if we cannot inspire the country to believe again, it doesn't matter how many policies and plans we have." So, and then he went on, "Don't tell me words don't matter," Mr. Obama said to Applause. "I have a dream. Just words? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Just words? We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Just words, just speeches. So I think it's kind of amazing that we're starting class on Inauguration Day, because Inauguration Day always has an inauguration speech. This is just kind of an interesting aside. Do I have the right? There's several different places that look into American presidencies. And so this American Presidency Project is one of them. It's in California. I thought this was kind of interesting. These are a table of inaugural addresses from Washington to Trump. And these are the number of words that they had. And there's a graphic at the bottom. So this graphic shows you the number of words each of them had towards in their inaugural speech. The outlier is this one by Harrison. I don't know if everybody remembers, but Harrison gave a speech that was over 8,000 words, when the average is more like 2,000. And he caught a cold giving this speech, and he died a couple months later. And so Tyler had to take over. So I'm going to give this one last. So I just did a Google search about inaugural speeches, and this is what I came up with. I mean, this is what showed. Very interesting. And the most inspiring speeches from past inaugurations.
Lucid Spark is the virtual whiteboard you need to bring your best ideas to life. It's simple, visual, and easy.
While refusing to defend our own. Let us answer the call of history.
We must act today in order to preserve tomorrow.
The American people have summoned the change we celebrate today. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. The time for empty talk is over.
We cannot expect to make everyone our friend, but we can try to make no one our enemy.
We are a strong nation, and we will maintain strength so sufficient that it need not be proven in combat.
We've defended other nations' borders while refusing to defend our own. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Well, this administration's objective will be a healthy, vigorous, growing economy that provides equal opportunities for all Americans with no barriers born of bigotry or discrimination.
We are bound by ideals that move us beyond our backgrounds, lift us above our interests, and teach us what it means to be citizens. And every immigrant, by embracing these ideals, makes our country more, not less, American.
We must act on what we know. I take as my guide the hope of a saint. In crucial things, unity. In important things, diversity. In all things, generosity.
We gather because we have chosen hope over fear, unity of purpose over conflict and discord. On this day, we come to proclaim an end to the petty grievances and false promises, the recriminations and worn-out dogmas that for far too long have strangled our politics.
Let both sides explore what problems unite us, instead of belaboring those problems which
divide us. For every generation, there is a destiny. Now, each in our own way, and with God's help, we must answer the call. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans. God bless you all. God bless America. God bless you and thank you. Thank you and God bless you all.
And may he forever bless these United States of America.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News.
So what we see throughout and we will see this all semester, is that rhetoric is always a two-sided coin, that there is always a positive and a negative sort of belief about rhetoric. We don't have time for this Argue Lab. That was the link that was in the syllabus. Maybe we'll start with it or watch it at home. In addition, for Monday, if you will take a look at these three things and start thinking about what you want to do your preliminary opinion piece on in the Blackboard blog. So that's where we are. Does anybody have any questions? I'm sorry, I'm going over a little. Any questions? Okay, so I will, this has been recorded. I will process the recording and share it on the Blackboard shell, along with the slide show, so that you can take a look at those things more. I want you to start thinking about the good and bad sides of rhetoric. Just what do you think of rhetoric? And that's where we'll start on Monday, okay? Any questions? All right, see you later. Where's mine?